What if we could take the best skills from some of the greatest fighters in history and combine them into one unstoppable force? From the best strikers to even the best trash talkers, we're going to create and build the best fighter of all time. The challenge is finding the right mix. The question is, can we really create an unbeatable fighter, or is this all just a fantasy? I've spent years training everyone from fighters in competitions to law enforcement to even agents of secret government agencies. And one thing is clear, everybody has their strengths, but they also have their weaknesses. While others can go the distance, but lack the killer instinct that other great fighters have. But what if we could cherry pick the best from the best, creating a fighter who's strong in every category that counts, using the best traits from legends across different eras and also styles? Let's find out. Now, to create the ultimate fighter, we need somebody with just incredible head movement, where people are literally just swinging in the air, missing their target over and over again. There's no one who has really mastered that like Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva's head movement was something really out of a video game. It was effortless, precise, and almost impossible to predict. But this didn't come naturally. This is a skill that he honed in over years and years of training. Growing up in Brazil, Silva was really influenced heavily, not only by traditional martial arts, but also boxing as well. His early training in Muay Thai, mixing in the footwork of capoeira, gave him a unique foundation for his head movement. As Silva transitioned into MMA, he incorporated these elements into his striking game, allowing him to avoid these punches with minimal effort, while at the same time being balanced so he can counter very, very quickly. This made him one of the most elusive fighters in UFC history, frustrating his opponents to land clean shots. Without a doubt, anybody with Anderson Silva's head movement is at a natural advantage. That's why I'm putting Anderson Silva in this category. Every great fighter has a specialty move. That one move that can turn the tide at any kind of fight. For the ultimate fighter, that person has to be Jon Jones and his spinning back fist. Now, Jon Jones is known for his unpredictability in the octagon, and his spinning back fist is a perfect example of that. It's a move that combines power, speed, and surprise all in one movement, and it really catches his opponents off guard when they least expect it. Jon Jones just didn't stumble upon this move. He really developed it over years and years of training, constantly experimenting to really keep his opponents guessing. The spinning back fist is a high-risk, high-reward kind of move, delivered with such power and precision where it's almost impossible to defend against. And in Jon Jones' case, it is a powerful move that can end fights very, very quickly. For the ultimate fighter, this move is a perfect addition for the arsenal. When it comes to speed, there is one name that really stands above the rest, and that is Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. His lightning-fast movements made him a nightmare for any opponent that he faced, and earned him the reputation of one of the fastest fighters in UFC history. Demetrius Johnson's speed just doesn't come through how quickly he can throw a strike, let's say, or take somebody down. It really comes through the transitions, how quickly he can transition from one range to another range, from stand-up to ground fighting, or ground fighting back up to stand-up. His ability to move with such fluidity and also precision made him almost impossible to be hit by an opponent cleanly, and allowed him to dictate the pace of any fight. Johnson's speed was a result of just years of rigorous training, to the point where he could maintain that relentless pace for 5 full rounds, whether it was darting in and out of striking range or executing a lightning-fast submission. And we think about speed in the UFC, well, Demetrius Johnson is really the gold standard. For our ultimate fighter, speed is crucial. To build the ultimate fighter, raw speed and also just incredible power is not enough. You need a mind that can outthink any opponent, a strategist that can adapt to any kind of situation. And when it comes down to tactical brilliance, I think few would disagree that it really comes down to GSP, George St. Pierre. I think a lot of times people look at GSP and they're like, he is an incredible physical specimen. I'll tell you what, he was an incredible tactician just as well. Every time he stepped into the octagon, he had a plan. Whether it was using his ground fighting skills to neutralize a striker or using his striking skills to neutralize a ground fighter, GSP knew exactly how to play to his own strengths while exploiting the weaknesses of his opponents. What really separated GSP from the other kind of fighters was the fact that he could adapt on the fly, and that is key when you're talking about surviving any kind of a fight. Now, obviously GSP wasn't perfect, but if he saw that his fight or his strategy was not working, he could change that plan just at the drop of a dime. His fighting IQ was really second to none, allowing him to stay one step ahead of his opponent. When it comes down to cardio, The ability to keep on fighting when your opponent gasses out is a huge advantage. Nate Diaz is known for his relentless striking and incredible pressure that he puts on an opponent, overwhelming his opponent with just non-stop strikes. Now, you can't do that unless you have legendary levels of cardio, and that's what he has. Now, on the other hand, Tony Ferguson brings a different kind of endurance to the table. His ability to push through pain and fatigue are really unmatched. Ferguson's unorthodox style really is built around one idea, that no matter how tough the fight gets, he's gonna keep on moving forward and never stop. When it comes down to an ultimate fighter, you need somebody who has a very powerful and also precise kicking game. So when it comes down to kicks, there is no one who does it better than Edson Barboza. Barboza's kicks are a weapon that no fighter wants to face. Barboza didn't develop the skill overnight. Years of training in Muay Thai gave him the foundation to deliver kicks with incredible speed and power. His ability to place his kicks with pinpoint accuracy not only makes him powerful, but nearly impossible to defend against. No ultimate fighter is complete without a very competent ground game. When it comes to grappling and ground game, all I have to do is say somebody's first name and you know who I'm talking about. Khabib. Khabib's ground game is legendary. When he takes his opponent down to the ground, it's almost a foregone conclusion that the game is almost up. Now, just by watching him, his ground game just doesn't revolve around strength. It revolves around his technique, his timing to pull off the moves when they need to be pulled off. And he does this by applying non-stop pressure. From a young age, Khabib trained in not just wrestling, but also in Sambo as well. Disciplines that laid the foundation for his suffocating ground game. His ability to chain together his takedowns, his top control, and also to put on constant pressure through his ground and pound game has made him one of the most feared grapplers in MMA and UFC history. When it comes to knockout power, there is no one more terrifying than Francis Ngannou. His punches just aren't strikes, they are fight enders. Francis' knockout power is the stuff of nightmares of anyone who wants to step in the octagon with him. I mean, one clean shot from him and your lights are out. His ability to generate so much force comes through his combination of natural strength, perfect timing, and explosive speed. Francis' power comes through years of him refining his technique, maximizing every single ounce of force in his punches. Whether it's a hook, uppercut, or straight right, he has the ability to end a fight in a second. Building the ultimate fighter just doesn't come down to having somebody with physical toughness. It comes down to having somebody with mental toughness just as well. There isn't anybody that really exemplifies this more than Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping's career is a story about perseverance. Despite suffering serious injuries, tough losses, and facing opponents who are many times considered to be more skilled than him, Bisping did one thing: he never gave up. His mental toughness allowed him to push through not only pain, but also his own doubt and adversity, ultimately reaching the pinnacle of a UFC champion. In the fight game, it's just not about what happens inside the cage. Many times it's what happens outside the cage before the fight. When it comes down to trash talk, I'm guessing that you can probably think about who I'm thinking. It comes down to Conor McGregor taking the category here. He just doesn't talk the talk. He uses his words as weapons, getting inside his opponent's head long before the bell rings to start the fight. McGregor's sharp wit, confidence, and also fearless attitude rattled even the toughest fighters, giving him a psychological edge even before the first fist was thrown. McGregor does this one thing great. He realizes that when you get into the octagon, it's just as much mental as it is physical. By breaking down his opponents mentally, he forces his opponent to go ahead and fight on his terms, and that's key. And there you have it, the ultimate fighter crafted from the best of the absolute best. So, do you agree with me or disagree with me? Let me know who you would like to change, and share your version of the ultimate fighter in the comments below.